This is the Jack Murphy Podcast. Here's your host, Jack Murphy.
Whoa, I've got some pretty big news today, John, about the Jack Murphy Podcast. Just before airtime, I went and checked the analytics and all the stats. You know, I'm a data man. I don't like siloed data. I'm progressive. I like to follow the data and the trends.
You're a numbers guy.
The talk and all that stuff. 161 subscribers as of this morning.
I saw that.
Big news, and quite a few comments on YouTube and some of the other platforms. Comments like, you too should go back and make radio great again.
We just got to find a radio station that...
that's the last thing I want to do is try to make radio great. That's like trying to raise the dead at this point, going back and making radio great again. We're going to make this podcast great and stay great. That's what we're going to do.
I noticed you didn't say we're going to make this podcast great again, because in order for it to be great again, it has to be great in the first place.
Exactly. Working on it every day, doing the very best. It's a full-time job. Even though the podcast is short, it's a full-time job. So, a lot going on today. Day 2 of the big Diddy trial in New York. Now, I could care less, because I got to tell you what, everybody knows Diddy's going to prison. It's only a matter of how long he's going to prison for. And I think black people should be upset, quite honestly, because Diddy's going to get nailed, but Epstein pretty much got away with it the whole time until they killed him. And all the people that were with Epstein are still getting away with it.
Wait a minute.
Because they killed him.
You're telling me that Epstein was killed? I believe the official narrative, because I trust my
that's
government.
the official narrative, but I believe he was killed in prison because he knew too much. And first of all, I have some. I know you're a theory guy. Here's my theory about Epstein. Epstein was a spy, probably controlled by the Israelis. And he curated all these government people and important people and billionaires, and he used sex to do it. What is it they call that? There's a name for it in the spy business. It's the honeypot. He had the world's greatest honeypot, and he got everybody, the billionaires, the politicians. He got them on camera, and then he either extorted them for money, which he used to make his honeypot better and bigger and all that, until finally this one reporter latched onto it, wouldn't let go, and the whole thing unraveled, and they had to get rid of it.
Donald Trump, he hung out. A lot of people hung out with Epstein. Doesn't mean they were freaky deaky. And when he found out that some of these shenanigans were going on, he disassociated himself with Epstein.
There was a time when Epstein used to come to Mar-a-Lago, and I forgot he said something inappropriate to somebody's daughter, and he kicked him out and had him banned from the premises.
As far as Diddy goes, I know that Denzel Washington was friends with Diddy until he saw some stuff go down at one of those freak-offs, and then he disassociated himself with Diddy.
Well, you know what Denzel Washington's motto was? He used to tell young stars he would go to these parties. In fact, there's a guy that I knew from the record business that was from Georgia, Charlie Minor. You probably don't know this name.
Is he the guy that...
Charlie Minor was a giant in the music business, but he started as a local promotion person. He went to played football at the University of Georgia, but he had a magnetic personality. Like, he could befriend anybody, and he just owned a bunch of program directors. I mean, he was just, if he told them to play a record, they played it. And he used independence for that. But he was on the phone from the West Coast at 4 a.m. calling program directors. And he was a terrible alcoholic, drank like a fish and couldn't maintain relationships. And he dated hookers and strippers and whatnot.
Didn't a stripper kill him or something?
Yeah, exactly. So he'd been dating a stripper. And he used to have, on Sundays, Charlie used to have parties at his Malibu house. And he'd have these big football parties every Sunday, and he'd have them catered, with seafood and shrimp and everything. And he had multiple TVs, and people like Denzel Washington would go. And one Sunday morning, they were getting ready for a party, and he was having the caterers in and everything. And Charlie quit drinking about, I think, 5 or 6 years before he was killed. But anyway, this girl that he had dated, she fell in love with him, and he was not in love with her, obviously. and she knew how to get through the security gate or whatever at his place. She came in and just shot him right in his house a bunch of times, killed him.
Did she get like 2 years probation with?
She got life in prison, I think, if I'm not
rare.
mistaken. But Charlie was a guy that broke people like Kenny Rogers, and I mean he was a major player in
Amy Grant. He was responsible for bringing Amy Grant into the pop world.
Long list of people that he was responsible for. But Diddy, I think Diddy, he was a driven business person, smart guy, wasn't afraid to use intimidation, force, fear of death. He was like a black mobster almost in the music business. And then he had that vodka brand that made all that money. But he's going to prison. It's just a matter of how long.
And federal prison, they say, is worse than like state prison because they don't. You have to do 85% of your time, and there's virtually no oversight because it's the feds. So those prisons tend to be worse.
Luckily for him, it'll be a lot easier because he's bisexual.
Well, I don't
might
get
get
people's personal lives.
He might.
You're getting too personal.
He might get a little bit more. I don't know how much baby oil he'll be allowed to have at the federal prison.
I think they just use
level.
ketchup packets and
But wouldn't it be mayonnaise packets?
Yeah.
Anyway,
he always came across as kind of fun-loving. We all kind of loved Diddy back in the day.
at first, early in the day, and then he kind of turned nasty. But there's nobody sadder at the Diddy situation than Mr. Sting.
Sting from the Police?
Sting from the Police. Nobody's sadder than him because famously Sting said, the other thing Diddy used to do, he used to sample a lot of records and try not to pay the artist for using them. And one of the artists he did that to was Mr. Sting.
Sure.
And Mr. Sting didn't go for it. He sued him. And in perhaps the worst rap song ever recorded, it was Diddy's.
I'll Be Missing You.
Yeah, it was Diddy's tribute to, who was the rapper?
Notorious B.I.G.
Yeah, he did that song for him, and he used Sting's song. Sting threatened to sue him. And they used to say that Diddy was paying him $5,000 a day, and then Sting said, no, it's not that. It's only $2,000. But still, $2,000 a day. That's a lot of money in the course of a year.
I heard it was a lot higher than $2,000 a day.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
They used to say that all the time, but I looked it up this morning. And in a Rolling Stone article, they quote Sting as saying, no, it's more like $2,000 a day. But still, 365 days a year, $2,000 a day, that's a hunk of change.
Yeah, righteous bucks.
But it's amazing who's showing up to defend Sting. His son did a song. This ought to change the jury's mind. His son did a rap song about how innocent he is and how he's been done in by the man and all this. And the Kardashian.
Well, aren't his sons are as bad as he is.
Oh, yeah, they were involved in it. And then Kim Kardashian and Kanye's daughter, is it North or East? I can't remember. Some direction is her name. She's involved in one of the songs with Diddy's son, so who knows what's going on.
It's going to be hard to get sympathy for Puff Daddy at this point.
Yeah, it is, particularly with all the videos of him beating the women and just the sheer volume of baby oil found.
But let me ask you this.
At the house, it was like an oil strike over there.
If you and I got into a fight and you beat me up, that's one thing.
Right.
But if I stayed with you for 10 years...
Well, he threatened her life. I mean, they have him on tape verbally threatening, hey, little girl, get over here or I'll kill you,
She never once called the cops.
It's, intimidation is a big part of it. Look! There were a lot of people that signed over multi-million record deals to Suge Knight that could have called the cops, but they didn't. You know why? Because they thought Suge Knight would track them down or have somebody track them down and kill them, like Notorious B.I.G. or Tupac or one of those guys. I mean, it was a big fear game.
I know that Vanilla Ice signed over Ice Ice Baby to Suge Knight, and he held him over a hotel.
Yeah. You ever hear Snoop Dogg tell a story about being on the airplane, and he said they wouldn't let Suge Knight and whoever it was wouldn't let Snoop's bodyguard come on the plane with him? He said they served a steak dinner. He said, I kept the steak knife in my pocket the whole flight, ready if I needed it.
That's why I never became a rapper. I don't want to deal with all the
too,
drama.
same
I can
way.
totally write the hits and the beats.
Me too.
I don't want to deal with the politics of it.
Yeah. I know. That's what I keep telling John Matthews, our friend. You know, he just keeps on rapping and keeps doing those rap songs. And I know one day I'm going to open the Charlotte paper and it's going to say Matisse gunned down in his Shevington home here in
Going to be doing a show
South
about
Charlotte.
Johnny.
Terrible. Anyway, closing arguments are in. We're expecting a verdict at any time.
By
Now,
the way, you got to remind me when my Jack Murphy logo goes out. I got it on the my computer here, and I have to wiggle.
yeah, but here's the thing. Either go into your settings and turn off the pause so it stops doing it, or get rid of it. It's
I
so
don't know
distracting
how. I don't
when you
know
turn
how.
around. You know, I mean, I have my beautiful Looney Tunes film portrait here, and it's just a natural thing. It doesn't go on and off. It's a real picture I actually bought at an auction. See that?
Well, I
all
think-
all my great cartoon heroes from my childhood are in that one painting.
I think this adds to the allure of the podcast to see how long I can go or how nonchalantly I can wiggle my mouse.
I don't really think it does, but I enjoy watching you do it. Now, does that bring back any memories for you at all? Because for me, that whole thing encapsulates my childhood.
You know, as you know, I did not have a very happy childhood. Haven't had a happy life, and I never
My
watched
childhood
cartoons.
was not extremely happy either. That's why I love a lot of these people. It was my escape.
Well, I wasn't allowed to watch cartoons, so I never really got into them. I've never seen any
I
of
mean,
those
you got
cartoons.
Dino from the Flintstones. There's Yogi. Hey, Yogi Bear, I'm going to get the picnic basket, Mr. Ranger, sir.
Spot on impersonation.
Elroy Jetson. There's the Jetsons' dog. There's that dog that always snickered. Remember him?
Yeah. If I had
In
a happier
fact-
childhood, I'd
in
get
fact-
these references.
This is a great segue to our next story. In fact, I believe that dog on that cartoon was the basis of the sheriff character from Dukes of Hazzard. Remember
Hey,
this?
wasn't there some news about the Dukes of Hazzard over
But
the
wait,
weekend?
remember, let me establish the firm connection first. That dog always went, was that laugh? Remember
I know
how
the
the
dog.
sheriff on the Dukes of Hazzard always laughed like that?
J.D.
Boss,
Hogg?
no, Boss Hogg's sheriff.
Yeah, Jefferson Davis Hogg. J.D.
What-
Hogg.
Oh, it was. I didn't know he was related to Boss Hogg. Was it
Yes.
his son-in-law or something?
Well, that was how he was named, Jefferson Davis Hogg, J.D. Hogg.
okay. Anyway, so John's very excited about this story because let me ask you this: why did they choose to do that this past weekend and not 4th of July weekend?
Well, they had the Dukes of Hazzard up in Kentucky, and they jumped the General Lee down Main Street.
I know, but why do it last weekend? It seems like that would be perfect for 4th of July.
Because everybody's going to be shooting off fireworks this weekend. Ain't
Well, what
nobody
better
got time.
firework than have the General Lee going over that ramp and jumping a big fountain?
Did you watch the Dukes of Hazzard as a kid? Well, you weren't a kid. You were already kind of grown up.
I watched some of it. I'll be honest with you, mainly for Daisy.
You know, I watched it as a kid. It came on Tuesday nights, and the thing I remember, looking back, I know it was Waylon Jennings who did the narration.
It was perfect for it. He goes, now back at the bullpen, Boss Hogg and them didn't know what was going on.
No. It would freeze frame. The General Lee would be freeze framing over a creek, and he'd say,
Yeah,
"Now,
something bad was about to be happening. They'd be running from the cops and they'd be jumping the river. And right as the car was midair, he'd come in.
He'd say, now, boys, you better call Uncle Jesse and have him put some more food on. Looks like we got company.
Exactly.
Now, boys, I'm no proctologist, but I do believe that's going to be a pain in this butt.
Yeah, I'm sure Waylon made a lot of money doing that. SAG after job for I don't know how many seasons that was on, but he made
Now,
some
I'm no
money.
doctor, but I do believe he's going to feel that one in the morning. We'll be right back.
But I love me some Daisy, even though she was an older woman to me at the time.
That's why I like him. I've always liked older women. Have you always had a thing for a certain age group? Because my age group has always aged with me. When I was 13, I liked teenage girls. When I was 20, I liked 20-year-olds.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, it was very sad for me, real quickly. This is beside the point. But I remember the girls that I liked, like in elementary school. When we went to junior high school, they all started dating high school guys.
And then guys
And
in like
then-
8th or 9th grade don't have anywhere to go because the older girls
'cause
don't like him, and you can't date a fifth grader.
Exactly. And then when we got to high school, most of them started dating college guys.
And you can't date a 7th grader when
And
you're
I
in 10th or 11th grade.
Exactly.
That's why we
so
could never get
I'm
girls.
left fantasizing about Daisy Duke.
I
even
all
cut
are.
off my jeans and wore blue jean shorts just so I could think about her while I was swimming in the creek. But anyway, why did they do that exactly? Was it an anniversary or something of the show or what?
I don't know exactly why, but I know that they said the Dukes were going to be the Duke boys were going to be back, but it was John Schneider and then Coy Duke. You remember the one season John Schneider and Tom Wopat? They couldn't reach a deal with a contract.
It was the backup Dukes that showed
so they
up.
brought in Coy and Vance.
Nobody knows who they were.
And the next year, John and Tom
You know
came
what?
back.
They could have put any two guys in the world in there and told them they were those two guys, and nobody would have known the difference.
Now, boys, I ain't no pimp, but I do believe there's some trickery going on. We'll be right back.
Well, wait a minute. Did any of the original cast show up?
John Schneider, but because he has nothing better to do.
Yeah. Well, I like John Schneider. You know, he was married for a long time, lost his wife recently, and he's posted a lot about that.
Now you're bringing everybody down.
He had a difficult time.
And Tom Wopat got fat.
You know why? Because I believe in being real, and that was a real thing that happened to him. Tom Wopat got fat?
Yeah, he used to be in pretty good shape.
I hadn't seen him in a long time.
He got all fluffy.
I'll tell you who else has gotten fat and even meaner. I don't know what it is, but I've noticed that this is true.
AOC.
No, I just want you to think about this for a minute and tell me if you don't think this is true. Think of every liberal that you know, famous or otherwise. Every single left-wing liberal Democrat I know is unhappy, pissed off, mad, and in a bad mood all the time. Think about it.
Alec Baldwin got fluffy.
Every time you see them on television, it's something bad. It's something negative. They hate America. They hate this. They hate that. This has to be changed. They're not happy about anything. I don't know if they're utopists that will never be happy. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in that world. I look around and I see a lot of things that make me happy. I see a lot of things that I like. I mean, there are things that I don't like. I'd like to see change, but they're just perpetually unhappy. And the worst of the bunch is that damn Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, she's looking rough these days.
She is just so angry.
And what does she have
bitter.
to be unhappy about? Look, we all have our own problems. We all have issues with the way things are going, but she's had a pretty good career and a pretty good life.
And the thing about it is, not only are they unhappy, bitter, and angry, they'll eat their own in a minute. They will turn on another liberal Democrat and eat them alive in a second.
Now,
all the time.
Could the same be said about conservatives? Do you know any unhappy conservatives? They seem to be the unhappiest. Rush Limbaugh for many years.
Rush Limbaugh was very happy. Rush Limbaugh I listened to every day. He was the most positive, love America. Look at all the great things going on. The only thing he's unhappy about was the crap liberals were doing. But my point is, Rosie O'Donnell, she doesn't even live in America anymore. But they attacked the very people that supported him. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, all these Bill Gates, these billionaires, who do you think they gave the most money to of any political party? Democrats.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos is a Democrat. He supports Democratic causes. He gives to all the Democratic candidates. He does all this. Well, Rosie O'Donnell come out yesterday, and who cares what some fat lesbian in Ireland cares about your wedding, but somehow it got printed and everybody's talking about it, including me. She did not enjoy watching the Jeff Bezos, Lauren Sanchez wedding. Maybe that's because she wasn't invited like all the other celebrities
she'd
were.
Probably be there.
But she wrote a poem and put it on Substack about the wedding. And I'm not going to read it all, but it said, "Turned my stomach seeing all these billionaires." As far as I know, there were only two billionaires there, Oprah and him, gathering in the gross excess of it all, the show of it all. Is Oprah friends with Jeff Bezos? Really? How is that possible? He treats his employees with disdain. By any metric, he is not... The poem really doesn't rhyme much.
I
does
wonder
it?
if she has an Amazon account, that Rosie O'Donnell.
And then she referred to Jeff's new wife. Here's another thing, personal attack. She called his new wife a fake fembot wife.
Hey, so at least we agree with Rosie O'Donnell on something.
That, yeah.
Did you
But
see
I mean-
Megyn Kelly made a great observation about Jeff Bezos. Now that he's got his hair shaved and he's kind of
Little buff. Yeah. He works out all the time.
She said he looks like a penis, and he really does.
Well, the whole logo, the company
his
logo, looks like a giant
head.
penis. I've been saying that for years. The Amazon blue logo. Take a look at it right now. Bring it up. Tell me that's not a penis.
I guess you're right. I always
Yeah.
thought it was just a happy arrow smiley
No,
face.
it looks like a blue penis to me. Always has.
Are we going to get flagged from Facebook for talking about?
No, I say that all the time. Honey, you got another package from the penis people. I mean, it just kind of looks like that to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but take a look at it.
Maybe that's why Rosie O'Donnell don't like him.
So, when you go to the hospital, you got to be careful, John. There's a 43-year-old man in Florida. He had to have emergency surgery over the weekend after somebody stabbed him. They must have stabbed him in the buttocks. Is the only way I can figure this out here.
In the buttock.
Yeah, he was brought in by ambulance, had emergency surgery because he was stabbed, but he was arrested after the surgery.
He got stabbed in the buttock and then got arrested.
Right, because as they were doing the surgery, the nurse who was assisting the surgeon found drugs hidden in his rectum, along with a crack pipe and a lighter.
That's a big butt to put all that in
That's
there.
a lot of stuff. That's what
a
I was
lot.
thinking. So I'm thinking, was somebody trying to cut it out, get it back from him? He said,
Give me back
"Got
my
your-
stuff."
I got your crack and your pipe. And the guy goes, not for long.
In jail, they call that keistering. When you smuggle contraband into jail in that fashion, they call it keistering.
And how would you know that?
I do a lot of research. A little bit too much.
Have you ever done any keistering?
I have not.
Yeah, I would not. I would have to die before I could do it. I watched that movie, Shot Caller. You ever watch that? It's a great movie. You have to watch this movie. It's called Shot Caller, and it's about a guy in L.A. He's a successful stockbroker, financial advisor, right? They live in a nice house, him and his wife. He has a couple of kids, and another couple comes over, and he's driving. They all go out to eat, and they're eating. They have a couple of glasses of wine, and on the way back, they have a wreck. And I guess somebody gets killed in the wreck, and he blows .09. And his lawyer said, man, I got bad news for you. We got a brand new DA, and they are going after everybody, and they're going to come after you for manslaughter, and you're going to serve some time. And the minute he gets in prison, the what is it? The white supremacist Aryan nation. They go
skinheads.
First thing he has to do is some keistering for the skinheads. He has to stuff. What did they call it? There was a name for it. Anyway, it was this clear thing, and they stuffed drugs in it. And they said, "Because you're new, they won't check you. So you put this inside you." And he goes, "Where?" And he goes, "Up your dumb ass." And he does. And they went, "Good work." They called him Money because he was a stockbroker. They said, "Good work, Money. Keep doing that good work." Anyway, he eventually becomes the head guy.
No more keistering for you. That's everybody's dream, to become the head guy so you don't have to keister anymore.
Really, really good movie.
What's that called? Shot Caller?
Yeah, Shot Caller.
Put
But
that
anyway,
on
I
the
don't know
watch list.
why Rosie O'Donnell's so mad, but this guy with the stuff in his butt, that's just terrible. All right, I thought we'd do something positive. We have some negative things here on the show. I thought we'd do some positive things here, John. We all want to look. We all want to look our best. We all want to look cool.
That's why I'm wearing my purple shirt. It's Purple Shirt Tuesday.
And I read this today. I mean, obviously, you could just watch me or John and just copy what we do, and you would be a cool podcaster, influencer, just like we are.
Right. With over
161 people.
After today, who knows
we
how
have
many.
trending right now. So if you want to be cool, just follow us or do this stuff. All right, this is a study of what. what makes people cool.
All right.
All right.
We could have written this list. We should have just come up with our own list.
Yeah, I could have easily just jotted this down, but it was already done, so I figured I'd read their list.
Right.
Now, it comes down to these 6 traits. There's 6 of them. I don't know if you have to do all 6, or if you did 4, you'd be pretty cool.
Well, let's hear. Maybe I tick all 6 boxes.
Okay, being extroverted, no problem. I'm there.
I'm not there.
Yeah. See, it's like me talking to those old ladies. It could have been them or 14-year-old girls. I could have carried on a conversation with either one. It wouldn't have mattered. Adventurous. That's me.
Not me at all. I barely venture out of my living room.
Yeah, me. I've done a lot of adventurous things in my life. Open. I'm like a book.
I'm like a book. I'm too open.
Okay. Autonomous.
If I knew what that word meant,
look that up real quick. I think I know what it means.
Hey, Siri, what does autonomous mean?
Autonomous means of a country or region having the freedom to govern itself or control its own affairs.
Okay, so it means you're in charge of your own life, sort of.
Okay.
Is anybody these days really autonomous? You may look autonomous, but you're being controlled by the government, the media.
By somebody. We are all owned by somebody.
I'm semi-autonomous. I'll say that.
And I semi-believe you.
Hedonistic.
That's me.
Hedonistic.
I like
let's see what Siri says about that one.
All right.
Hedonistic. Because I've there's this club, hedonism, this, that, and the other. What does it mean?
Hey, Siri, what does hedonistic mean? Oh, she's going to make me read it.
She's confused.
Engaged in the pursuit or pleasure of sexuality or self-indulgent. Yeah, the creature comforts. That's me.
Well, I mean, I sort of am. I try to have more self-control than I used to.
You could probably be more if you would learn how to keister.
Yeah. I don't want to
make you super cool in prison.
And finally, powerful. I'm definitely not powerful.
Not me.
I click about 4.5 boxes there.
Yeah.
I would say
that's enough.
Medium. I'm almost, I'm fairly cool.
Okay.
How about you? You, not so much.
There's nothing worse than 2 middle-aged guys
You're not
talking
cool.
about how cool they are on the internet.
Well, I just took the survey, and I'm 4.5 out of 6. You're a tough 3.
I'm a -4.
You're a tough 3. But anyway, hopefully all you people out there, you 161 beautiful supporters of the podcast, I hope all of you are cool.
And by the way, let me clear something up because we've done some number crunching on this. Mm-hmm. And you might go and see a YouTube channel with 5 million subscribers and they've got 100,000 views. And you think, wow, 100,000 views, that's great. But when you say that we got 161 viewers and 56 views, we have more.
The conversion is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The quality of the conversion. And that's a good point. If there are any advertisers listening or influencers listening out there, it's the conversion rate.
I learned that in radio, how to turn anything you do into a positive.
That's right. Our reach and frequency.
Yeah. It's everywhere. You just don't see it right now.
And the income of our average subscriber and viewer, way up there.
And they're educated. They got college degrees.
And
the reason
they're cool.
The reason they didn't come to our on-location broadcast today is because it's too sunny, so they're out on the lake, but they're hearing it, and they'll be in Monday.
No, but really, there are people out there that you'll look at their YouTube channel, and let's say they have 1 million subscribers. But you start looking at their videos, and it'll say 20,000, 25,000. So what happened was they did something spectacular. They spent a bunch of money on advertising to collect a bunch of subscribers, but they haven't done a very good job of converting them to dedicated viewers.
And retaining them. But we are, because we talk about being cool and keistering, and those are the two things.
Well, one more. I've got a third to add to it today, John. I've got the trifecta, swamp crotch. I mean, it's summertime. We're in the dead heat of summertime. And listen, I have to deal with this every day. When you get up at 6:30 in the morning, get 4 dogs. I'm running a doggy boot camp right now. I've got an extra dog in the pack. And you go walk 5 miles in the woods. When you come back, you're soaked everywhere.
Not me.
You're soaked everywhere.
Not me, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
I have a bidet.
But not while you're walking. You're not using a bidet. I'm talking about I am sweating, soaked all the way down to everything while I'm walking.
Do you have a bidet?
No.
You can get one on the penis place.
Yeah, I know. My daughter has 2 of them.
You got to get one of those. No more swamp crotch.
That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you just walk in and your nether regions get sweaty because it's hot.
Well,
a bidet's not going to help that. I'm
bidet's
not
gonna
talking
help.
about swamp ass. I'm talking about just swamp crotch. It's a thing, and you can get stopped at the airport for it.
You can get stopped at the airport for having swamp crotch?
Listen to this. You can
God,
get
wouldn't you hate to
flagged.
be the guy checking?
You got to have gold bond because this woman posted on Reddit that she said her groin got flagged by the airport security at 2 different airports, and she had to be patted down, and the consensus was it was because she had swamp.
Oh, God. If that was my job, I'd be putting in my notice.
Excessive crotch sweat can trigger the scanners that the TSA use. There's a book called 101 Pat-Downs, an undercover look at airport security, and the author, a professor at Cal State, said that sweat can really set off the machines.
Now, friends, I'm no airport employee, but I do believe that lady's got swamp crotch. We'll be right back.
So he recommends some Gold Bond or whatever. So if you're flying on the 4th of July or at any other time, go ahead.
When you get done, when you get to your place, get you a bidet. I'm telling you, it clears everything out. A nice little spritz when you sit down and refreshes
And they
you.
make them real cheap. My daughter just moved to a new house, and I helped her install a couple of them. They're real easy to install, and she bought them on Amazon for like $39 or something.
Yeah, that's the best. That's the one thing my last wife gave me, other than a hard time, was she brought that up one day, and I was like, well, don't you have to have it installed? Because one time I stayed at a hotel, and
it used to be a whole separate porcelain unit.
I stayed in a hotel, the Doubletree Hotel in St. Louis, and I stayed in the presidential suite.
You ever try to use one of those?
Yeah, I love it.
At the hotel like that, because it doesn't have a seat on it.
No, you sit down and you kind of
hover. You hover over it.
But the guy told me, I said, I'm the presidential suite, and I was for a job interview, and I said, were there any presidents who stayed here? And he said, no, but Marie Osmond once stayed in this room. So
She probably used the bidet, yeah.
I sat in the same place.
Being a kid from a little town in the South that grew up in a trailer, I had no idea what a bidet was the first time I saw one. And I went, how come they got a toilet in here with no seat in the bathroom? And then I later learned that it was a bidet, and the next time I went to a hotel where it had one, I said, now, I thought they were just for women.
Right.
Right? And then, no, it's for everybody. And I said, well, what do? You kind of semi-squat and hover over it? Why don't they have a seat on it, And so I just never bothered with it.
It's so much fun when you introduce someone to the bidet. I've had a couple of women that I've introduced the bidet to, and I'm like, just sit down and relax, and I'll show you how it works. And that first time they feel it, woo! Yeah. After that, they're used to it. That's one of the great joys in my life.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've covered all the body parts today. We've given you cleanliness tips, coolness
tips. Now, friends, I'm no plumber, but I do believe that's a bidet.
We talked about the Dukes of Hazzard. We've covered everything here on the Jack Murphy
Friends,
Podcast.
I'm no gynecologist, but I do believe Boss Hogg's got his feet up in the stirrups.
I think that today's podcast could push us to 165 subscribers.
You think?
I think so. It could. We're at 161.
What about all the ones we lost because of today's project?
If only 4 people will subscribe, we could easily be at 165 in a minute. And look, the 4th of July weekend is coming up. I'd like to get to 170 by this Friday.
I'd like to get to 1776 by Friday. Wouldn't that be something?
Unlikely, but that would be something. I'd settle for 176.
Let's go for it. Let's try it out.
I'd settle for
Everybody
176 by Friday. Tell your friends and subscribe to the Jack Murphy Podcast.
Thanks for watching the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Go ahead, ring it. Get alerts when a new episode drops, and tell your friends about the Jack Murphy Podcast. But only the cool friends, please. Tune in next time for another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.